Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Joanna Butler, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Outhouse. This evening's Last Post ceremony tells the story of an Aboriginal serviceman as part of NAIDOC Week, in which we celebrate the history, culture, and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and recognise them as the traditional custodians of the land. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have a long and proud history of fighting for country and continue to serve with honour among our military forces. From resistance during the colonisation of Australia, they have served with honour in every conflict and commitment involving Australian defence contingents, from the South African Boer War to the present day. This NAIDOC Week, Australians from all walks of life reflect on the contribution and commitment of our Indigenous peoples. 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. Today, we remember and pay tribute to Trooper James Dickerson. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge the Chief of the Defence Force, Admiral David Johnston and Mrs. Belinda Johnston. Admiral Johnston is retiring after 48 years of dedicated military service, and this evening marks his last official role at the memorial as a uniformed member of the Australian Defence Force. Admiral Johnston has extensive experience across a range of leadership, maritime and joint operations, training and capability management appointments in Australia and overseas. His prior senior command appointments include Commanding Officer of HMAS Adelaide and HMAS Newcastle, Commander, Border Protection Command, Chief of Joint Operations, and Vice Chief of the Defence Force. For eminent service to the Australian Defence Force through strategic stewardship and capability engagement, Admiral Johnston was appointed to the Order of Australia in 2012, the Order of Australia in 2018, and he was made Companion of the Order of Australia in 2020. Sir, we are grateful to you and your family for your distinguished service, and we wish you and Mrs. Johnston every success in your retirement. This evening, we are also honoured to acknowledge Secretary of the Attorney General's Department and Indigenous Champion for the Australian Public Service, Ms. Catherine Jones, and the accompanying delegation from the Attorney General's Department. Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chief of Defence Force, Warrant Officer Ken Robertson, and Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chief of Defence Force Designate, Warrant Officer Class 1, Jason Robinson. We warmly welcome President of the ACT Division of Air Force Association, Group Captain Ernie Walsh, the delegation representing 1st Recruit Training Battalion, Delta Company, 3536 Platoon, attending from Kapooka, New South Wales. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Tom Price Senior High School, attending from Tom Price, Western Australia, and students on behalf of the Johnson Family Homeschool, attending from Burpengary, Queensland. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Soil and wealth for
able to do so, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones, buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Reeds or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Trooper James Dickerson. It is in honour of the proud tradition of the Indigenous Australian military service that we tell his story today. James Dickerson was born on the 10th of November 1883 in Gingin, a small town 60 kilometres north of Perth in Western Australia. His mother, Mary, had 3 children from a previous marriage, but James was her only child with her second husband, George, a labourer and a freed convict. Shortly after James was born, his father, George, died of inflammation of the lungs in a government hospital in Perth. George's death left Mary a widow for the second time in 3 years, now with 4 young children to feed. Mary was forced to admit her children to the Perth Protestant orphanage while she looked for work. From 1887, she was employed as a domestic servant working for Alfred and Martha Skelton in Perth. That year, Alfred and Martha separated, and over the next 4 years, Mary and Alfred had 3 children together and moved to York, just east of Perth. Alfred died in November 1891, leaving Mary widowed again. James and his half-siblings returned to live with their mother and younger siblings by the beginning of 1892. However, following Alfred's death, Mary once again fell on hard times, and efforts were made to remove the children to the new Norcia mission. Mary gave birth to 1 more child, a boy named Henry, in 1895. The family lived in impoverished conditions in York and were in receipt of rations. By 1899, at the age of 16, James had begun working for William Craig, licensee of the Castle Hotel in York, and a prominent racehorse owner. James remained in York throughout his 20s, continuing to work with horses and as a labourer. James Dickerson enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in York on the 19th of October 1914. After arriving at the Black Boy Hill training camp, he was assigned to the 10th Australian Light Horse Regiment and given the rank of trooper. After 4 months of training in Western Australia, James Dickerson left Fremantle on the 17th of February 1915 in HMAS Sereta, bound for Egypt. Dickerson arrived at the port of Suez on the 21st of March 1915, and from there travelled to Mena Camp for further training. Although the light horse was originally considered unsuitable for the terrain at Gallipoli, by May 1915 they were needed to reinforce the infantry on the peninsula. Dickerson left Alexandria on the 16th of May and with the rest of the 10th Light Horse arrived on Gallipoli on the 21st of May. Over the next few months, the regiment served dismounted on the peninsula, based primarily around Quinn's Post and Walker's Ridge. James adjusted well to life on Gallipoli and was described by a friend as a hard case and the life of our troop liked by officers and men. In August, the 10th Light Horse were involved in 2 major offences, the charge at the Neck on the 7th and the attack on Hill 60 on the 29th and 30th of August. The attack on Hill 60 formed part of the last major Allied offensive operation on the peninsula and was conceived as an attempt to consolidate the narrow strip of foreshore connecting British forces at Suvla and establish positions around Anzac Cove. During the fighting on the 29th of August, James was shot in the buttocks and fractured his leg. He was evacuated to the hospital ship Devana the same day. James Dickerson died of his wounds received in action on the 30th of August 1915, the same day as his younger brother Harry enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force. He is the only known Indigenous Australian serviceman from Western Australia to have died in the Gallipoli campaign. James Dickerson was 31 years old. He was buried at sea with full military honours 50 miles west of Cape Matapan in Greece. He is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial at Gallipoli. In 1921, James' mother, Mary, inserted a memorial notice in the local newspaper, which read, "No one knows how much we miss him. Some may think the wound is healed, for they cannot see the sorrow in our aching hearts concealed." His name is also listed on the roll of honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. But this is one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the War Memorial. We now remember Trooper James Dickerson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, Thank you for joining us at the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.